Look at that peacock. Who does he think he is? The sharp, venomous words echoed in the morning air just outside the Precinct 15 police station. The black man in the blue silk shirt didn't even flinch. His gaze was fixed. Then came the shove, then another, and finally a fist struck his jaw, snapping his head violently to the side. A drop of blood fell onto the pristine blue silk, a tiny crimson star against a blue background. But as the officers laughed, their chests puffed out with arrogant power, the man slowly turned his head, a terrifyingly serene smile on his lips. What secret lay behind that smile? And how could a simple punch in front of a police station bring an entire corrupt system to its knees? Are you watching this from the office, from home, or during a lunch break? Wherever you are, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications because the story of what happened next is a lesson in power, prejudice, and ice-cold justice. The man was Elias Vance, impeccably dressed, standing on the sidewalk in front of Precinct 15. Elias was observing the station's routine. His first official workday was set to begin at 9 a.m., but he wanted an unvarnished glimpse into the culture of the department he was about to command. He was the city's newly appointed police chief, brought in specifically to dismantle systemic corruption. He was dressed not in a uniform, but in expensive civilian clothes, a sharp blue silk shirt and dark gray trousers, the attire of a man who commanded respect without needing a badge to enforce it. Officer Rick Miller, a bulky man with a reputation for brutality, was the first to notice Elias. Miller, accompanied by officers Ken Russo and Todd Carter, took immediate offense at Elias's composed demeanor and expensive attire. To Miller, this black man's presence and lack of subservience were an unacceptable challenge to his authority on his own turf. "Look at that peacock," Miller muttered to his partners, his voice thick with contempt. Driven by a mixture of deep-seated class resentment and blatant prejudice, the three officers changed course, approaching Elias with aggressive, measured steps. Elias remained motionless, observing the escalation. He met Miller's aggressive approach with a level, evaluating gaze, refusing to flinch or show fear, a powerful, silent refusal to submit. Miller advanced, his face contorted in a sneer. "Got a problem? Something you looking at?" Elias maintained his silence for a moment longer, cataloging the microaggressions. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet, composed, and intellectually distant, just admiring the architecture. This serene response infuriated Miller. It was a reaction from a world he didn't understand and couldn't control. The verbal taunts instantly escalated. Miller shoved Elias hard in the chest. Elias absorbed the blow, his feet remaining solidly planted. His failure to fall or even stagger further enraged Miller. It was a silent rejection of his physical dominance. "You think you're tough?" Miller roared. "Think that fancy shirt makes you a man?" The situation had moved past harassment. It was now a calculated assault to enforce submission. When Elias still didn't react, Miller's pride snapped. He drew back his arm and delivered a brutal, full-force hook to Elias's jaw. The sickening sound of the punch cut through the morning air. Elias's head snapped back. He stumbled one step, raising a hand to his lip. A single drop of crimson blood fell onto the pristine blue silk of his shirt. The moment the punch landed, the period of observation ended. A terrifying, ice-cold calm replaced his previous serenity. He was no longer a test subject. He was the prosecutor. He slowly turned his gaze back to Miller, a slight, humorless smile on his bleeding lips. Miller, panicked by the violence and the small crowd that had begun to gather, attempted to justify his action. "That's what you get for resisting. You're under arrest for assaulting an officer and loitering." Miller and Russo immediately proceeded with an illegal, aggressive body search. They expected drugs or a weapon. Instead, Russo triumphantly pulled a leather case from Elias's jacket pocket, containing a heavy, ornate police shield and ID card. "Plain cop," Miller exclaimed, mocking the find. Blinded by their own prejudice, they refused to believe the identification belonged to him, instantly accusing him of impersonation, a felony charge. Elias cut through Miller's bluster, citing specific federal and departmental codes with chilling precision. "You are in violation of Patrol Guide Article 4, Section B, regarding illegal search and seizure. You are generating a multi-million-dollar civil liability for the city and a career-ending, if not jail-bound, trajectory for yourself." He advised them to wait for a supervisor, stating clearly, "The chief is about to arrive." Inside, veteran Sergeant Frank O'Connell watched the monitor in dawning horror, realizing this man was no ordinary citizen. Just then, Captain Ava Rostova, the precinct commander, arrived to meet the new chief. Officer Miller, what the hell is going on here? She demanded, furious at the sight of the chaos. Miller repeated his lies, but Rostova's experienced I saw the truth in the blood on the man's face and Miller's strained defensiveness. She turned to Elias and asked for his identity. Completely ignoring her own officer, Elias dropped the pretense. He locked eyes with the captain and said in a clear, authoritative tone that brooked no argument, "Captain Rostova, it is a pleasure to finally meet you. I am Elias Vance, your new police chief. I believe our meeting was scheduled for 9 a.m." A devastating silence fell. Rostova's face moved from confusion to absolute horror. The three officers instantly realized the magnitude of their catastrophe. They hadn't assaulted a citizen. They had assaulted the highest-ranking law enforcement officer in the city, the very man sent to clean up their corruption. The sound of Miller's shield and ID case dropping onto the concrete was the sound of three careers shattering. Elias, now fully in command, barked orders. "Captain Rostova, secure the crime scene right now. I want a perimeter established." He then turned his icy gaze back to the three paralyzed officers. "You are all under arrest." He ordered Rostova to personally disarm and handcuff the men who had just attacked him. The humiliation was absolute. The incident instantly became a national scandal. Cell phone videos went viral, forcing the mayor to hold an emergency press conference. At 2 p.m., Chief Vance, bruised but resolute, addressed the nation. He wore his bloodstained shirt as a symbol of the fight ahead. "I experienced a symptom of a disease allowed to fester in the dark corners of our department," he stated. He announced the immediate suspension of the three officers and the launch of a top-to-bottom audit of Precinct 15. "We will cut this cancer out by the root and build a department that every citizen can trust and respect." 6 months later, justice was served. Faced with overwhelming video evidence, ex-officer Rick Miller was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison for aggravated assault and civil rights violations. Ex-officer Kevin Russo received 5 years. Ex-officer Ben Carter received 3 years probation and a lifetime ban from law enforcement. The audit resulted in the firing of several officers and the promotion of Captain Rostova to deputy chief. Chief Elias Vance proved that silent dignity and unyielding legal excellence are the most powerful weapons against prejudice, successfully purging the corruption that the Punch had so publicly exposed.